What is up, guys? If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. We're releasing videos daily. And guys, in this video, we're gonna go over how to design software, okay? And this is really part 2 of the series, because in this video series, I'm gonna take you guys step by step on what it takes to create your own software if you have no programming experience whatsoever. And it's actually really cool because I'm creating another software right now. I already have a software company called Contact Flow and a couple of others, but I'm creating another software right now. So you guys are really gonna be able to kind of look over my shoulder as I do this, and you guys can learn to obviously also do it on your own. So in this video, we're going to go over how to design your software. Part 2, if you guys haven't already, then go watch part 1, because no one watches part 2 before part 1. And in part 2, we're going to go over designing the actual software, which is a part that a lot of people struggle with, right? A lot of people often have a hard time coming up with designs that may look appealing or that may serve its purpose as far as being able to create something that gives people a very good user experience, right? That's the entire idea behind designing effective software. How do you design something that when someone is using it, they just know what to do, right? It's something that they're either used to or that is super aesthetic, and that they can navigate their way around it without needing much training, right? Although I believe that onboardings in applications and softwares is still very important, but it's also super important that your design stays consistent all throughout and that you do something that's effective. So in the last video, just to recap, we went over kind of like the idea stage, right? How do we come up with an idea for a software, and the process that we take our ideas through to make sure that that it obviously falls into those guidelines, which are guidelines that we created, right? And what these guidelines are is that, one, it has to be something that I have some sort of competitive advantage in, right? So if I don't know anything about dogs, then I'm not going to create a software based around dogs. I don't have a competitive advantage on it. I don't know much about it. Number 2, it has to be something that could be done in less than 2 months. So I don't want to spend more than 2 months creating this software because, 1, it's already something that's risky, and 2, I want to be able to put this out into the market as fast as possible and start getting feedback that I could start working off of, right? If the software that you're creating takes longer than 2 months and you're not super experienced, then you're putting too many features into the software. You need to kind of dumb it down, and not really dumb it down. I guess what it's called is, or what it's considered is, only leaving features that are going to make your application, that when someone uses it, they're going to know whether it's something that they want to continue using or not, right? And that's kind of what's called the MVP, right? Creating your minimum viable product. Now, number 3, it has to be something that gives you residual income. So I want a subscription, okay? I want people to pay me on a monthly basis to use this. I do not for any reason want to create a software that someone pays me one time and then they could have forever, because these softwares have recurring costs to us, right? And that's just the business model that I prefer to go into. Number 4, it has to be on a platform that I have complete control over, or the upside is unbelievable. So what that means is that, for example, I will not create a Shopify app personally, just because it is on their platform and I could put a ton of work into it, and then the platform could potentially go down, and that type of loss of control at that level I am not super comfortable with. Now, for example, mobile apps, you might be saying, well, what if Apple goes down and your mobile apps are also going down? Well, it's very unlikely that Apple goes down, right? So the upside there is unbelievable, so I would do it. Now, number 5, it has to be something that I could start and already begin deploying against my current audience. So what that means is that if I already have some sort of audience or some sort of customer base that I work with, then I want to be able to push that new product that I'm creating towards them. And number 5 or 6, I don't even know what number I'm in, I want to see something, I want to see someone else doing it, okay? And I want to identify where my advantage in the market will be over them. So I don't want to be a freaking pioneer in whatever I'm creating, okay? I really don't, because I want to release something that I know someone else is doing because it's working for them, and I want to switch it up a bit. Now, the design is really where you're able to switch things up, right? Because if you're able to find a software that's working and a software that you're able to apply your competitive advantage to, then how do you take that, change up the design, change up some of the features, and release it on your own and start collecting, okay? So the first thing that we need to do when we're designing software, and maybe we have no idea how we want to design it, is that we need obviously inspiration, right? We need inspiration And where we're gonna find that to begin with is in Pinterest, right? So we're gonna go to Pinterest.com or whatever. You're gonna sign up, you're gonna log in, and you're gonna look for different software designs. You're gonna look for keywords such as software or mobile app or fitness mobile app, or keywords that are related to whatever it is that you're trying to build. And the most important part here is maybe not to get super specific into what you're trying to build. So if you're trying to build a fitness app, maybe don't look up fitness apps, because the ideas are going to start going in your head as to what you're seeing, and then you're probably going to come up with something that's very similar. So what I like to do personally is I like to look at other types of programs, right, and take different things from those and see how I could apply that to a fitness app, for example. It's something that I've done in the past. One of my first mobile apps ever was a fitness tracker. And I modeled the entire view of that app based on an app that allowed you to track your water intake. It was actually pretty funny. So the app that allowed you to take in your water intake was something like this, and then it had some stuff down here, and then it had like a circle that would fill up as you would intake water, right? So I was like, wow, I want to create a fitness app that allows me to track my daily workouts. And I want to use this top section right here, right? So I created an app where it was a very simple app, and I actually don't still use it, but there's like 10 people somewhere in the world, hope you're watching this video, that are still using this app. It's called Fit Week. If anybody wants to go check it out. So whatever, I selected this top section here, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna put that into my fitness app. So I did. And at that point, it becomes easy because the person who's developing the app for you, you're literally able to tell them like, hey, go to this app, download this, and this is what I want on my exact app, right? Which is the best because they have a working prototype of what it is that you want to build. So I added this into my app, and for example, let's say you wanted to work out 5 times a week. Every time you would work out, this would like close, and it would fill up until it was completely full, and then you would restart like your week. So it was actually really cool. Now, anyways, Pinterest is the #1 place where you can find inspiration. Now, #2, and I kind of mentioned it already, is by looking at competitors or other softwares that are extremely successful. I could barely focus while typing, that's sad. Competitors, right? You want to look at competitors or people who are successful, not people, but softwares that are also successful, so that you could get different designs and different things that they're doing to be able to apply to your own software. And at that point, what you need to be doing as you're doing this is you need to be writing it down. Okay, you need to be noting down which parts of what software you want and you like, because later on we're going to take this to a designer. He's going to take that, he's going to create our main prototype, and then that prototype is something that we're going to give to a developer so that they could start creating it. So it's extremely important that we not only go around and look for these things, but that we also note them down. Now, the next step after we have some sort of idea of what we want to create there is to create a freehand, right? So actually, let me talk for a second about the software that I'm creating here. So if you watch my previous videos, then you know that the software that we're creating right here is actually a software to help people build software. Yeah, so a software to help you guys build software. And so the first stage that we kind of follow as we go through that is that we want people to create a freehand. And what that is, and what I'm about to create right now, is kind of like a hand-drawn image of what the app is going to look like, more or less, right? And then this is going to be easy for you once you have all these different other designs and pages that you've gathered inspiration from. So for example, I'm going to draw here live what I want this app to look like. So I'm drawing it here in Photoshop. You guys could draw it in whatever it is that you use. Obviously, once our app is done, then you're going to be able to use our app. So that's going to be freaking awesome. It's actually going to be a web app, right? Not a phone app. So I'm going to create that right there. And then real quick, I'm just going to create a couple copies of this because I'm going to create multiple screens. All right. So the first thing that I want to do, and most of my web apps are like this, is that I want a side menu, right? And the reason why I want a side menu is because it's it's something that people are used to, first of all. So I'm not incorporating something that someone has never seen before. I don't want to do that in my softwares yet. Okay, later on when you have a bunch of successful different softwares, then you could go ahead and you could try different designs and try weird stuff. But I like to play safe as far as that. So I like to include different design principles and different elements that people are used to. So this is what's called a hamburger menu. Some people call it a side menu, whatever. But basically up here it has a logo, right? And then right here you have nope, you have different menu sections, right? So you have different menu sections, and this doesn't have to be perfect, okay? You could mess up, it's not a big deal. We only want a rough draft of kind of how we want it to look like, and then we're gonna send this to a designer who knows what they're doing, and they're gonna come back with something that looks freaking awesome. So now that we have this, I know that I want some options here on the side. I don't even have to select them yet. I don't even have to pick them yet. And then I know that with the side menu comes a line that needs to come up here, okay? So a straight line here. And then up here is gonna be some sort of button that's gonna collapse this, right? So I need to know this information, and later on, I'm gonna note it somewhere. Up here is gonna be like a profile with a drop down. And then this area right here that I'm building is gonna be where people are gonna freehand, right? And what freehand means in this software is they're gonna just be able to draw things out just like I'm doing right here, except it's all gonna be in this one program that they're gonna use through the entire life cycle of them developing that software. And so I want some options up here, okay? And these options up here are gonna have like a pencil and something to select, something to delete, something to switch out colors. So maybe what I do here is I drag out an arrow and I'll start typing some text here. So I want a pencil. I want to be able to draw, or actually that's the pencil. Draw, I want to be able to select, I want to be able to delete, I want to be able to change color, for example. And let's put that here, there, whatever. So this is just to have an idea, not only for myself, but for the designer that I'm gonna give this to. And the designer is gonna make magic out of this, especially if I tell him, hey, I want it to look in this format, and this menu on the side, I want you to get it from this website, right? To make it similar to the one on this website. So that would be the type of information that you would be accumulating right here, right now. And for example, so that's it, because that's it for this one, because this area right here is where people, right here is going to be where people are drawing. So I don't want anything there. Now, the next screen that I want to create is, for example, the next stage in the development process is to create some sort of wireframe, which in this case, I'm going to have a designer do it because obviously this program is not yet created. But once we have this, we want to be able to come into some sort of screen. So I'm still going to have this side menu, still going to have this thing up here with this and this, whatever, and this up here, and then the different lines. But I want to have another section right here that has, for example, different elements that I could drag and drop. So I'm going to put these right here, and then I'm going to right here, drag and drop, just so that I know what's going on here. Drag and drop. And then what these elements are, let me put here. I'm doing this so that my designer has an easier time doing this. So UI elements. And obviously there are some other softwares right now that allow you to do maybe not both of these things together, but like create these little wireframes or whatever. I don't want to go and use that right now. I just want to create this very simple format right here. And then send it out to my designer. So now the next step is to find some sort of designer who's going to take this together with the different mock-ups that you found somewhere on the internet, and you could probably even send them pictures of that, so that they could go ahead and they could come back with something that looks freaking beautiful, okay? And once they come back with this screen that looks freaking beautiful and amazing, you're going to work with them back and forth to make sure that it looks how you want it, right? So when you're looking for a designer, you're going to go on websites like Upwork, right? And you're going to spend $20, $30, not a big deal. You're going to create a software that's going to generate a lot more. $20 to $30 to get your design back. Maybe if you're super, if you want to be super conservative, I guess, with your money, you could go to Fiverr.com. So in Fiverr.com, you'll be able to find people for literally like $5, $10 to create these designs. And then once you have the designs ready, then we could go on to the next stage, which is finding someone to actually develop this. And it's actually pretty cool the way that we do the development as far as finding the people, because that could be overwhelming to a lot of people who have maybe never gotten a software developed before, or who have no idea how to hire people. And how you do that, and how you hire the designer as well, is that you basically pick one screen. So let's say that I pick this top screen right here and I send it to the designer, and I'm not gonna send it to only one designer, right? I'm gonna have multiple people bidding on the project, so I'm gonna send it to like 5 different designers. And what these 5 different designers are going to do is that they're gonna come back and send me their input, and I'm gonna pick out the best one that I like. And then once I finally like one of the designers, then at that point, I'm going to use them to continue creating all my other pages. And it's extremely important that all the pages are created by a designer and that aren't just these little mock-ups that we created here, because it's going to make it 100 times easier, literally freaking 1,000 times easier for your developer if they have these Photoshop files that are professionally created by the designers. So it's really nothing out of this world, but it's extremely important that we go through this process, because at the end of the day, once we're looking back into it or back at it, we're going to realize how much easier everything was because of the way that we're approaching these things. Like, for example, if you were to go to your developer and tell him, hey, create this right here, he's literally going to take 5 times as long to create it than if we would have had a design that was professionally created by someone on like Upwork, for example. And if you guys want any videos on hiring people from Upwork to create your designs, so just let me know in the comment box and we'll go ahead and create one of those. But in the next video, okay, because this is a different part series, I'm going to go over how, after you got your designs, right? So you created your mock-up like this, you send it to a designer, you found your inspiration, you followed the guidelines that we've gone over. What do you do after you have the designers, right? After you have not the designers, but the actual designs, what do you do with that? How do you hire your first developer the right way so that you don't have to lose thousands of dollars as we have in the past? And how do you set up those job postings and make sure that you have someone who knows what they're doing and who's going to be able to create your software? Okay, so we're gonna do that in the next video. Make sure you guys subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow.